Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film.
We head to Indochina this week with Pierre Schoendoerffers' 1965 first Indo-Chinese War epic, Platoon 317. As always, I'm joined by Mike A,
Hello.
Mike B,
Yep.
and Nate.
The
So, guys, what'd you think?
Nate didn't have a clever one this week.
no, it's hard.
No.
He's been on the run from the Viet Minh for too long.
Dude, I'm tired. Why is it?
It's okay.
No, it doesn't
He's
mean
been
don't
on the
poke.
run in Baltimore.
It doesn't mean like you can't poke fun at the way I talk. It's just it's gonna come out a lot tonight. That's my
Oh yeah, but no, you just went no.
Well, I've never been more self-conscious about my own accent since doing
Well,
this
it's
pod.
just gonna get worse because
I
you know
know.
us.
I know.
That's the problem.
Yeah. No, I know. It's the
I'm
same.
loud and proud, motherfucker.
It's
Well,
the same.
so Nate, what did you think? You started talking.
I started talking because you talk shit about me.
Duh.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know dick of this subject. I mean,
I don't know nothing.
It was interesting. I thought it was cool. I know Ryan. You know, I just from what I know, people know this. I know Sean and Brian know this a lot. And I think you do too, Mike. But I'm not too sure. I just don't know anything past World War II. Pretty much is my history like kind of cut off, and even then it's very limited. But no, I mean like I knew this existed. I knew this was a thing. I knew the French fought, the NVA and Viet Cong and stuff before we got in there, and it's all that stuff. And that's the surface level stuff I know. And then but going into it, I mean like no, I mean like I was dreading it. Mainly because it's French, and B because it's 1960. It's 1960s, so French 1960 films are normally le fin, and it's which is at the end of this one as well. But I was like brooding it because like I was like, okay, like what kind of fucking hate session am I gonna have to do to sit here and watch tears drip down a wall in slow motion, and then and then it's like on the back black wife and a person cries even more. Like I'm waiting for that, like just like weird messaging, and it wasn't that. Thank God, and because I'm a simpleton and I need direct fucking messaging. But I liked it a lot in some aspects. I loved the look, and and also with it also being again the older films actually being shot on film. It's like holy crap, like there's a lot of really interesting action that went with this, but it blends in a lot with the black and white, and I mean, it was also really cool. And although there'll be like a 5 minute long intro, but it was really cool that some of the shots were kind of like traditional, filmography shots, setting up static shots, but then all of a sudden just the camera gets picked up and it's just like documentary cameras for some of the shots. And I thought that was really, really cool. No, this film was never fucking heard of it in my life, but man, it's really I really liked it. I'll jump into it later obviously, but no, I liked it a lot. Mike B.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I was dreading this because of the time period, like what you said, but I was very pleasantly surprised. It was not what I was expecting at all. Again, in a good way. It was very just especially for the time, very poignant, very very right there in your face, and it's like holy shit. So I wonder on one hand like who watched this back then, because it was so, I think, ahead of its time as far as the way it was shot, the dialogue, the combat scenes, which weren't overdone in my opinion, which is very interesting. But overall, like Yeah, the guys, like you said, I actually don't know much about Indochina either. Like that whole conflict that they had been having in the 40s and the 50s. I know enough to get me in trouble, but like I'm not an expert by any means on that. And it was cool to kind of see a lot of things that I did know, and it confirmed that I was right. They did, and it was a bigger picture thing. We'll get into that, but like it was really cool how they had local people working with them, and it was just, I guess, real. It was portrayed in a very real manner. For 1965, I don't think I've ever seen anything that, besides a documentary or something like that, or even just like raw footage from the time that was a cinema kind of movie. I've never seen anything that raw and real before. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty darn okay. So, Brian.
I'm glad to choose a film from the past that you guys dread but turns out being awesome. This is a movie I found out about 15 years ago or so when I was at that museum, and I watched it. It took a while to find as well, and I was blown away. I was like, it's fucking cool. Only because the Mat 49s. I always knew this film for the Mat 49 porn, because it's like, if you want to watch it, because it's very similar to the Battle of Algiers in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah, it is actually.
Same time frame and everything, and how it was filmed and everything. And
Yep.
but it's just really awesome, just from so many ways. It does have some filmmaking, thrown into it. You can see, obviously. But other than that, it's just in my opinion, it's the best film about Indochina. There's not too many of them out there. There's probably 5 or 6. And I'm also very surprised to hear, Mike B, that you don't know a lot about this conflict, because it's like Vietnam, but like more turbo insane and with less funding. So it's
Again,
like
I know enough to get
really
me in trouble, but that's about it.
If you do a deep dive, there's some really amazing books, even D&B and Foo, because we're at the 70th anniversary of that battle, which is insane, in my opinion. Fucking, spring of 54. So much going on, and so much of that ties into the Cold War as well, and Korea. I mean, it's a very fascinating conflict from so many levels, but this is a great film. And also the director of this film, Pierre Schoendoerffers, was a French army photographer who jumped into DMB and Foo during the siege and became a Viet Minh prisoner of war. And he became a filmmaker after the war. And this is his first real big film. So that's why it looks amazing, because it is amazing. And it was made for vets by vets. And on top of it all, they shot it in Cambodia in 1964. Fucking, like, there's CIA units like over the hill, and they're shooting a war movie. It's like insane. This film is so cool, and it's great. Michael.
Yeah, this is cinema verite at its finest. Cinema verite is a genre from kind of this period where you are stripping away all of the dramatics, and that's kind of what has inspired me, that genre, to do stuff that I want to do. And this is exactly that. Like the combat, I was really surprised by how real the combat felt. The one of the first shots where I was just like, whoa, is it right at the beginning? They go into that bunker and there's shit happening way off in the distance, and they do like a snap zoom in on it, and you can see, I mean, like tracers like arcing over, and so it's like, damn, that looks good. All of the stuff shot at a huge distance, like when the guy's looking through binoculars, looked so good. I loved that stuff. And yeah, and then of course the two characters, it's a very interesting juxtaposition. These two guys, this, the guy, he's the commanding officer, this lieutenant, but he's younger than this other guy who is, a total fucking beast in war, and has, a very interesting background. One thing I absolutely love in some war films is when they have previous wars kind of bleeding into the one that they're depicting. And there's a lot of examples of that. And this is the same thing. It's where this guy, he was an Alsatian, and during World War II, he was in the German Wehrmacht. They didn't go the route of like he was a French resistance soldier or he was in the French military. It's like, no, he was one of the guys who was in the German Wehrmacht and was fighting on the Eastern Front. Like, how, fascinating is that? I love shit like that. So yeah, I thought it was really, really interesting, and again, I love the way it looked. I love that mid '60s like black and white matte look. Everything is like kind of flat almost, but not in a boring way. You see a lot of that from that time period. So yeah, I thought it was very, very cool, and I kind of wish that I had heard about it before.
Yeah, that answers my lead-off question. Was Brian the only one who had seen this before?
Yeah, I'd never seen it before. I'd never even heard of it before.
Like a good 40% of the films we watch, I think I'm the only one that's like ever found them.
Well, that's not always true. That's not always true.
No. But there's a lot of gems out there if you just fucking are really bored and watch
Yeah, and
TCM all
you're
the
a
time.
fucking hardcore deep dive cinephile in a specific genre.
I was gonna say like Brian's more of like the motherfucker hasn't seen Lord of the Rings until like 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
he's not, like I had to
Right.
fucking convince
That
him
was
of
me
that.
too.
But I'm gonna skip over that fucking thing. Yeah.
No, you won't. You
We'll
won't
go
fucking
into that
skip
another
over
time.
that, pussy.
Don't, Mike. Don't.
You were gonna say something.
No,
Hey,
I was gonna
Brian
say
was gonna say something too. So
in terms of Brian's knowledge seems to be to me is that Brian is more of the unknown,
yeah,
I guess would say, historical, theme dramas, because like he'll mention this movie and that movie. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, oh, that's the Russians going in the Eastern Front, whatever that fucking one movie you keep trying, the land of something, I can't remember, but it's like all that
What?
stuff. We go about this every fucking like couple months. We still haven't done it. It's the one where they use like real Soviet T-34s or something like that. Anyway,
Oh, Talvasota.
no, although that was one of them too, which that movie's
Yeah.
awesome.
I have
So, yeah.
seen parts of that.
That's a
So
great movie.
Yeah.
The guy gets lit on fire by a Soviet tank, and then he lights a cigarette on fire from his burning snow camo. That's a great movie.
The Finns are hardcore.
But
They really are.
What
yeah.
I'm trying to say is Brian's very, very good at picking those one-off movies that no one's ever fucking
Yeah,
heard of.
and that's
Yeah.
the thing is like when we talk in person, when we're all together, yeah, Brian, you're the guy that like goes really deep, and we go, you go, oh, have you heard of this one? Nope. Heard of this one? Nope. Heard of this one? It's like nonsense, and then we're like, dude, no, we're not fucking, we're nerds. We're all fucking geeks and nerds here, right? But you go into like the deep dives of like military history cinephilia, and you'll know
That sounds like a Pornhub category. It really does.
it'd be a really boring category for most people. But no, and then so it's cool. Like this one, you got to win. The one that you were talking so highly about and everything, and like you just said, oh, it's the best movie ever. Tunnel Rats, 1968.
Oh, yeah. I know.
We did that one,
Well,
and
Broken clock strike twice a day,
It turned out to be not so great,
Yeah.
And you spoke very highly of it, and you were like, "That's my favorite movie," but we destroyed it.
Well,
on your
let me
behalf.
give you another really good movie suggestion. Toxic Avenger. It's from the 80s. It's a great movie.
Oh God.
It's about this man who's wronged, and then he fights back and gets revenge.
Okay.
Michael
penis,
will know what that is,
You,
but-
you
Yeah.
don't have to get that far. But anyway, no, what Nate was saying is correct, and yeah.
Well, it's again, there's so much cool stuff that's out there that's just fun to watch, and
It's
I
also
just hate.
just hard to sift through the bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It,
You
it
can
really
tell
is.
after doing this for so long now, you can tell a bad movie pretty quickly. But
Oh, yeah.
what I just want to get into people's minds is that, especially in our society today, where we have such short attention spans, is that only just because it's black and white doesn't mean it's bad. Give it a shot, because there's a lot of amazing stuff out there. And for example, this film was shot in black and white. And back then, there was almost a general rule that you shoot a lot of like jungle scenes and films in black and white, because so many greens are disorienting and they don't look good on color. So as cool as that would be, yeah.
No, it's just that is actually a common thing that you hear about when you study like cinematography, is that like jungle as an environment is a nightmare because it's not aesthetically very interesting. Like when they made Predator, or when they made like Vietnam films, they actually tear a lot of it out. Like if they're actually going to go to a location, they tear a lot of it out so you can actually see a little bit through it. Yeah.
I think the
Normally,
most. Yeah.
just normally that's just not the case. But yeah, it's when you shoot like jungle on film, you can hardly see anything.
Like I think the most famous case of that modernly is Clerks, because they're like, if you shoot fucking color in a convenience store, you're gonna vomit after a
Yeah.
good period of time. And if you think about it, it's like, yeah, that's true. How many cigarette pack colors are you gonna fucking see over and over
Okay.
and over again?
Yep.
So
That's pretty
again,
good.
just because
Yeah.
it's black and white doesn't mean it's bad. Just give it a shot. There's so much cool shit out there. And you know, the cinema's been out for 130 years. Everyone's been doing crazy shit forever, and nothing is new. So that's all I
There
say.
are a number of movies where it's like you could not have this in color. You know, it just the black and white adds
Toy Story.
Listen, motherfucker. No, yeah, like for example, movies that like they have to be in black and white. It adds so much. Like Ed Wood. Like I mean, I'm guess like yeah, you've seen Ed Wood, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If either of you, Nate.
No, of course
Of
not.
course not.
Okay.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Even the film you always bring up on here, Nebraska.
Nebraska,
You know?
I love Nebraska. You could not do that movie in color. Well, you could, but it wouldn't be the same. And yeah, Ed Wood's the same thing. It has to be black and white. And I would even say, even though I mean it's a bit older, but the color film was very much a thing back then. At this time, Psycho, you know, was the same thing. Psycho was actually criticized when it came out for not being in color. Yeah, so they were like, "What the fuck, Hitchcock?" But yeah, it's just like that mood. It's perfect for it.
Yep.
Yeah, so getting back on track, I guess. I think I think this could have been done in color. It could have been, but I think it was a lot better done this way. Because again, we're talking 65. Yeah, they had fucking color film at that point. And yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I'll say this: if you watch, because I've never seen a colorized version of this, but I've seen a colorized version of Battle of Algiers. The original is much better, and even
Yeah.
in like the bazaars of, because the lizard with everything is just like it is a lot. As crazy as it sounds, like think about Green Berets. At points, it's a lot of color, you know, even though they're on like a fucking Hollywood, you know, grass, you know, they're in John Wayne's backyard, but like, you know, it's just a lot of moving stuff.
There are.
It is.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
fuck.
I wasn't watching.
I was exhaling my vape.
It's okay.
You can't podcast and not
Mike-
watch, Michael. Is it
Mike-
texting and driving? Huh?
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here.
What is this, a hangar in Idaho?
Michael, go ahead. I'll finish up the thought.
We're
Go
good.
ahead.
We're good. We're good. Go ahead.
good.
Okay,
All
okay.
right.
I'll make this quick. Have you ever seen the colorized version of The Longest Day? Yeah, it's everything looks like it's made of icing. Like everything looks like it's made of frosting. It looks fucking
Oh,
terrible. The uniforms are all just like 100% green. It's fucking terrible. So there are cases where you colorize something and it just looks like dog shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's all.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying.
a lot. of them.
No, 100%. I mean, what I was gonna say ties into it is like there's also a difference between filming in color and filming in black and white. When something is purposely filmed in black and white, you have to apply tactics in that filming, and moments and lighting and things are played so much differently in black and white than they are in color. And specifically, when something is digitized to color, you can tell when a movie is like filmed for black and white, especially like if you take like a 1920s, like, you know, LA noir movie. Let's go for the extreme, you know, of like the guy moves in from the shadow and it's intense music and then he moves back into the shadow. Like in color, it's completely lost, but in black and white,
Yeah.
you literally have two tones, and it's lighting and stuff is filmed that way. And there's that the scene where that guy, the guy's name starts with an R, the sergeant who dies, and they show his body and his mouth is open and there's flies all over him. That's filmed for black and white. I mean, that is filmed for black and white camera, and that's the problem, is that when stuff is colorized later, a lot of moments don't hit the same versus black and white. And black and white has its own look, its own feel, its own taste. And I really, really appreciate it for the time it is. And even people who do black and white now, like The Lighthouse, for instance, let's go modern here.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Lighthouse is a perfect example of those tactics being utilized for the modern cinema. Black and white still can play a huge role in art and everything else. Still, it's not. It's not. It might be antiquated, but it's not. It's not like useless. Brian.
Think about an equivalent to the time, Bridge on the River Kwai. That was color, and that's great. I love that film for what it is, at that time and place. But if thinking of the color and everything, it does take away from it, because that would be
It's
very
so
similar
much.
technology.
It's so
exactly.
much,
Yeah, it's just too much of an overload. But to bring it off of that into another subject, the combat in this movie, like we were saying, is just so well done, and there's like the sound as well. In the
oh my god,
combat
I was gonna say that. Yes.
so
yes.
much was put into little stupid things that only is done for the viewers that know and were there. Again, this is really a movie made by a veteran for veterans. Like,
So one of the things I'm gonna fucking cut you short because I gotta fucking say this before I forget. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when a lot of the times taking contact and the perspective is from they're about 200-300 yards away, whatever. You hear the snap, of the bullets, and then you hear the afterwards, and I'm like, that is what it actually fucking sounds like. That's what, and you've got the report of the actual firing being done. Same with artillery and everything, which they did well in this film as well. But like, you hear the, and they put it in every fucking time. Every time there was gunfire, and I'm like, holy shit, that's really advanced, especially for 65. Because yes, they did use some stock sound effects at certain points. And now that we know how to make films a little bit, we know what goes into it. I get why they did that. But most of that, and when they were shooting the guns, like the guy was shooting the BAR at one point, right? They must have been using live fucking rounds because
It looked like it a few times.
dude, he's sitting there like this, and it kicks him back a bit, and there's so much smoke coming out of the fucking receiver.
I think they're shooting over the guys they're ambushing, and because I don't think there's a lot of BFA or blanks in Cambodia in 1964.
Right.
Probably not.
And they're probably all combat veterans or
and
parts
it's like-
of local militias, so
it
they
looked
know how to
so
use this
fucking
stuff.
real. I'm like, oh, what were you? And because you
There
can,
were,
yeah, like you said, you can see the guys down below.
All of those impacts were hitting past about maybe 20, 30, 50 yards.
That's
back.
still really fucking close.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying
Yeah.
like I saw that and I was like, that looks off timed, or maybe that's just something, or maybe they're high. But I'm like, but blanks. I'm like, in Cambodia in 65, a BFA like fucking BAR, they gotta at least be shooting over. Maybe they're shooting, in the berm over them, and then they're putting pyro in the water or something.
No, I don't think
But
they were.
I don't know, man.
don't
Like
think they
it
were.
looked really, it was really cool.
The quick another derail, but one of my favorite scenes, because again, I was never in combat, I never served in action, but something that has pissed me off before is when somebody's using a certain asset in a way that shouldn't be used. So when the one NCO goes up and says, "Give me the fucking GM," and grabs the BAR out of the guy's hands and just like starts running at them and using it, I thought that was so cool. Because, there's different ways to show like masculinity and stuff, or like people think about Rambo and things, but that was just a really cool scene where it's like, okay, fuck you, and just ripped it out of his hands and used it. And vice versa. Another great scene with the same guy is when, he talks about Cherkasy and everything, and they're running out and like, oh, look, he's made it. And the one guy behind him gets shot and he goes back to rescue him. And all of a sudden he's down next to him and you're like, oh shit, the Wilsdorf, whoever was the sergeant's dead. And then like 5, 10, 15, and he's up again. And and it's like, again, there's like, you don't have to show like really manly explosion and stuff things to show that this guy knows what he's doing. It's kind of like the LL Main film we watched, The Line of Fire. It's the little moments that are the best, that give it that clarity and just that awesomeness. So,
Yep.
Michael.
So one of my favorite moments in terms of depicting gunfire, all that stuff, is when the radio man gets shot in the arm, and and he just swings down, hits the ground like instantly, and you just see bullets go just pop up next to him. It's like that. It's so fast. That sort of thing I love, just like that quick, just like, oh shit,
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, if I was ever for future films, if I want to continue doing what I want to do and depicting combat the way I want to in film, like, I would love to do a supercut of this movie to show to like effects guys, to see like this is what we're gonna. This is a good template right here. Mike was gonna say something, but yeah.
No, really quick. That's really good. And did you, all of you, did you notice that these firefights lasted like 15, 20 seconds?
Yeah, they're just little bursts.
And they were done. That's reality. It's not Hollywood, it's reality. And that was fucking amazing, where it's just things, rounds going off, and then what the fuck's going on? Okay, oh shit, man. And then it's done. That's how guerrilla warfare is conducted. And that's how actual combat, usually from guys that I've talked to from every war, like World War II on, that's how it's conducted. It's not this constant. I mean, it does happen where it's constant like that, which is very rare and very not good to be in. But it's usually just like 15, 20 seconds tops of just exchanging gunfire and blah, 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 and, all this shit. And they did it so well in this film where it's like, okay, now we have to deal with the aftermath. Oh, this guy's hit. Oh, he's not dying, but he's hit, But yeah, anyway, Brian.
Even that, hearing what I love about this film, and there's only really one other film I can think of that really does it in this way, is just sometimes hearing is worse than seeing, because the way the imagination works. And there's two scenes in this film that really nail that. And there's the one of when they get to that action and Lieutenant's like firing and he's like, I'm going to get that MG. I'm going to get that MG. And they get the MG. And then all of a sudden the firefight gets really, really loud. And there's the shot where like the camera's just on him and his eyes just get louder. And he's looking up and you can just see the fear roll over his face of him realizing like, oh, okay,
we don't know where the fuck this is coming from. And
this is getting a lot worse.
Yep.
And the second time you have that in this film is when they're in that ravine and they're all waiting with the wounded and they're trying to figure out what's happening. Like, oh, fuck. And they're like, the mortar stopped firing. Oh shit. They're working their way up here. Oh God. Like, even thinking about it is just chilling in a way. Cause it's like,
but that's what it was.
Their fate is on a knife's edge and it's on somebody not dying 200 yards over there. Or,
there's only one guy. There's only one guy in their entire element that knows what is up. One guy. And they're lucky because they had that guy. Imagine everybody being completely green. That's why a lot of people got killed. You don't know. Like, oh, the mortar stopped. Oh, we got to fucking move. Here's how you do it. Bam, 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 bam. Go, 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 go. And then we'll survive. But if you don't have that one guy, you're fucked. Because like the lieutenant was the young guy, and like he's like, oh, I've been in there 15 days or something like that, like 2 weeks basically. That's very factual. And he was also, again, as a second lieutenant, great because he actually gave a shit about what his NCOs had to say before the one died, and then he's got the one guy left. But he actually goes, I've only been here for 2 weeks. We just got to do this, and I'm gonna have this harebrained idea. And the master sergeant goes, okay, all right, you're the lieutenant, but here's what I've experienced, blah, blah, blah. And he takes it into consideration, tries it, fucking realizes, he goes, oh, you're right all the time. So, Mike?
Although, that's a great, like, those kind of characters, you have the one really hardened veteran badass and then the newcomer and such. What I loved is that they were never, like, working against each other.
No.
They were never like, well, I'll show you or something like that. It was
and that's
always,
the way it should.
Yeah.
The best case scenario is what was shown in this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's like the best case scenario.
They all wanted to live. They didn't want to be, rivals or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Brian?
It's like, this is the opposite of Platoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
these are men on a mission of getting out of a situation. And what's insane to fucking think about is that this was shot right before your Vietnam War got really hot. And if you edit these sequences, you could make this look like Indochina footage or early Vietnam
or mid-war Vietnam footage because of just, fighting Indochina is the same with automatic weapons. You're in this fucking tropical rainforest with camouflage and automatic firearms. It doesn't look that different. Like, just the way this is shot and the fact it came out in 1965 and that for the next, 8 years there was fighting in country with the U.S. troops.
Yep.
It's just insane. Think about it. American 18-year-olds going to Vietnam in 1969 and having the same exact experiences that are depicted in this film.
Well, it was
about
worse
what happened to
because-
guys 11 years before that. It's
Yep.
just like, just boggles my mind, Like,
it's insane.
holy
And
fucking
it's just
shit.
So, it's we'll talk about the weapons in a second before we go to IMFDB because there's some things that are awesome and I want to fucking discuss them. But yeah, it's the whole thing of like the Viet Minh when they kind of came together, which eventually became both the NVA and VC, right? The NVA didn't exist at this point. There was no North Vietnamese army. There was no. It was in its infancy at that point, very infancy, right? And the Viet Minh were just people who were fighting for whatever ideal they thought, and whatever. And then those guys are the ones who became officers, senior NCOs in the VC and the NVA when the Americans eventually went there about 10 years later in force. And those were the guys who go, well, the French were a good force. They were not to be fucked with, and we beat them. So here's how we beat them. Oh, these guys have a lot more helicopters now. Their supply route is a lot better than the French. All right, we'll adapt, we'll pivot, and we're going to fucking beat them this way. So it's like it was just a fucking a kickoff for this whole thing. And yeah, I mean, if you think about it that way, it's just like, because 10 years, it's a long time, but it's really not, And yeah, I mean, Indochina, that whole conflict, like when it pretty much ended, I say pretty much because it's, you know what I mean? It didn't end, but the French mainly pulled out after Dien Bien Phu, right? And this time period of this film taking place. They were like, fuck this. We cannot expend these resources anymore. We're done. And then by 55, they were mostly out of Indochina at that point.
Well,
And then Americans started going there.
It really, goes back to colonialism in the 1800s and, the French needing places for their ports of call and Europeans, whatever, and people don't realize, I think, that, back then Indochina was fucking Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. It was huge. It was most of the peninsula, besides Thailand. And it was a huge area, multiple provinces and everything. Vietnam itself, north and south, before that even, but whatever, how you want to look at it, was 3 provinces alone.
Yeah.
So it was just a massive fucking place. And that's one thing they do show with this film.
Yes.
It's the vastness of it. Like you're like ants in a fucking sandbox.
Well, and they're calling the enemy Viets, right? They're in Cambodia. But they're calling them Viets. Like, okay,
well, it's not Cambodia. Cambodia is a province of Indochina. And the Viets, that's the crazy thing.
What is now modern day Cambodia? They were probably right.
Oh yeah,
just north of the Iron Triangle.
And they knew it as Cambodia, yeah. But it was just in Cambodia in the province of Indochina.
Yep.
So, but you got the history right and everything. But it's crazy because all these guys, like they showed in Battle of Algiers, had all this experience of resistance during the Second World War, and then 45 happens, the war ends. De Gaulle wants the empire back. The Frenchmen are hurt because they lost the empire, and they launch into these fights around the world to keep the empire for 9 to 12 years, first in Indochina, and then, like they mentioned, the end of this movie, Algeria. And it just gets really, really bad, But
and
54
also,
was the real end of that struggle where
and they're being supplied with U.S. shit, which is very accurate. I loved seeing that in this film.
And the Viet Minh are being supplied with captured U.S. shit from the Korean War. And that was one of the reasons that they were able to take on Dien Bien Phu, because they had captured American 155 millimeter howitzers for the first time. Yeah. So it's this amazing dichotomy, as the Korean War winds down, Indochina really heats up in this last year, and it's this very long conflict. It's called the Dirty War in France. It's really, really bad. And all these people fought for such a long period of time. In the beginning, they had British troops and French troops that were in Vietnam. And at one point, the British realized that there's no reason that British troops should die for, British or French imperialism. So they decided to use all these Japanese POWs that were there. And a lot of Japanese POWs died and then also joined the Viet Minh. And they fought with the Viet Minh because they realized I'm never going to get home. So it's like all this.
Either way, yeah.
Dude, it's crazy, yeah. So like you have Japanese veterans fighting with like anything you can get your hands on. And even they have one Viet Minh in the film who they capture who looks great. Like that's what a Viet Minh looked like in the 50s. So no, it's just there's just so many layers to this thing that's just so great, Fucking look at some of my notes here, but actually I want to share my screen for a second, Mike, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, this scene, yeah.
Talk about sound design and everything. And they're using fucking P14s, which is so correct.
No, it's M1917 service.
Or M17s.
Yep.
Which is so legit.
100% legit, yes.
And the sound of a carbine, being shot rapidly is just so
But they actually have
frightening.
it in this film.
I know.
They must have used live rounds, and they must have done some sound recording.
Yep. The cyclic rate of a carbine just being hammered away is just frightening when you hear it from far away. It's like, oh, you're in some shit, dude. Because everyone hears their Garands galore, And the way that everyone's put together as well,
Yeah.
There's no unnecessary shit. It's like,
And it's the language they're using is very correct for somebody in a combat zone. And he's also not just going cyclic.
Right, yeah. He's doing bursts.
And it looks like actual live rounds.
Jesus, look at that.
Yeah. No, that's what it would look like. It's
I've seen actual bullets hit water before. It's just
and the sound though, even on top of that.
It's amazing.
The crack. I'm gonna get that gun.
Let's get a rifle grenade on it. Yep.
I love the shots, those distant, like that zoomed in, that just looks so good.
When the fuck do you see rifle grenades?
Yeah.
When?
You see them a lot through Vietnam, even.
But I mean, in film.
And that's the correct 36.
Yeah, it's not a 31. It's not a 3651. It's the
36. It's the 36.
The LG fucking
the thing that you would stick on the end of the muzzle. It's not the 36.
Right, but it's not.
Yeah.
These are all correct weapons.
And I love how exciting it is too. It's the way it's edited, it's put together. It makes you. I don't have to see the round go through the air when a fucking edited 3D shit. I can just fucking watch his eyes.
He uses
that scene was I was talking about when he that stare. Fuck.
That's fucking storytelling.
Yeah, it was the sound, like you said, for 1965. This is more advanced than most modern war films as far as sound.
Than most war films. Period. I mean, it's just it's so good.
Yeah, it's really good, and yeah. Yep.
And again, more things I loved in it are like when they have the Singapore radio either interfere or come into. That's something that comes up in a lot of memoirs. They would all listen to that shit because it's right there.
Nate, are you alive?
Yeah, I'm alive. I just got nothing. I just don't know the history, so I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And from a filmmaking aspect, though, I think it's great because I don't know shit about it either.
It's awesome, but like Michael was saying, this Cinema Verde. It's funny, I didn't know that name because I forget who was it. Who was the really famous one that he just died? Jean-Luc.
I was about to say Jean-Luc Picard. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was like a big part of the whole French new wave of cinema, and this is that, but it's not like what Nate was saying, like very French new wave. It's gritty. It's real.
It's fucking real. Yeah,
it's the other end of the spectrum. It's like we're gonna have a war film as real as fucking possible and show it as real as possible. That's how we're gonna do our version of Cinema Verde, and as opposed to other ways to approach it. But it's just the grittiness it's Gonzo. This is like the ultimate Gonzo war film.
That style is what I want to capture for future war films. So this is a good example.
What this looks like to me, honestly, is it looks like a documentary that was filmed in 1954. Even though it's impossible back then to have something of this quality, even if you fucking try, you can get all the film and all the cameras and all that shit, maybe the sound recording equipment. It's impossible to get all that shit back there, as we found out. It's fucking insanely difficult. So to me, this resembles and looks like what it would have looked like having a film crew embedded with these guys. It's less shaky, of course, because it is still a film, but you see the interaction. The writing was actually really good too. Like, I didn't realize they were going to swear this much.
Yeah, for a film from this time period, yeah.
But here's the thing: is like when you're in that situation, vets that I've talked to, again from World War II on to nowadays. Oh yeah, when you're in that situation, you swear in every other word. It's kind of some psychologists have done studies on this. So like swearing is somewhat cathartic while you're experiencing stress and whatever.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You're not experiencing any stress, Nate, so fuck you.
No, I never, ever in the history of our kind of cuss so fucking goddamn much.
But no, it's like the realism is like, so, because when you look at World War I veterans, for example, they swore terribly. And they got home and they had to get out of that habit because in public that wasn't the norm. It wasn't good to you can't just go out and cuss in public. And so the fact that they actually made this film and they actually just showed how soldiers talk in this situation, very impressive. I was not expecting that at all. I really wasn't. So
every motherfucking cast member is on point and present in these scenes. You know, there's not one, fucking auxiliary, like, Viet Minh or Cambodian guy that's with them that's not in the current moment.
Auxiliary.
Nobody's there for a paycheck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
No, they're
great.
in it. They're in it.
And yeah. Everybody's in it. All the stupid shit in the background that doesn't matter. Because if you've ever been on a scene on a film set, you know that it's just make busy work for people in the background. And it's how good are they at making that busy work? And this is just fucking insane the whole time. It's like no one looks like they don't know what to do at any moment. They're afraid. They're, ready to go. They're whatever, I wonder if they really even told these guys, like, listen, we're going to go to the woods and film a documentary, so it look like we're fighting. Not even mention it's a movie because they're that good.
Again, this right here, because we can't hear it, that looks like documentary footage, right?
Yeah, the whole
time. It
doesn't
look like a film.
And what's crazy is that, this film won Best Picture at Cannes in 1965. And Peter Schoendoerffers ends up going to Vietnam. And he makes a documentary very similar to the way this is shot called The Anderson Platoon, where he follows the first African-American graduate of West Point to Vietnam with his platoon. And it's really insane. And it got an Oscar in 1967 for the Best Picture. So it's crazy to think that he makes this movie in Cambodia in 65, 64, distributes it, and then goes back to Vietnam with the Anderson Platoon and films a documentary just like this. Peter Schoendoerffers is a crazy guy. And then later on in the 90s, he makes D&B and Phu, which is the other really good movie about Indochina. But this is way better, in my opinion. We'll get to the other one.
Well, yeah,
point,
if you're that far removed,
it's that same guy?
Yeah, same guy, makes both films.
Oh, okay.
But if you're that far removed from the actual events that are happening, it's harder to convey the actual environment and the what the hell is the atmosphere. It's hard to do that. The farther time goes on, it's harder to convey that, and that's why I think this, even though it was 10 years after this was supposed to take place, it's still fresh enough. But if you made Dien Bien Phu in the 90s, that's 40 years or 30 years after, or no, 40 years after Dien Bien Phu
40
happened.
years, yeah.
And
think about,
you lose some elements of that because, so he goes back to Vietnam and makes that, he's in it. He's right there. He's experiencing it. And then he immediately cuts this or not this, but like the other film that he made, Anderson Platoon. He immediately cuts it. You're right there. It's there. It's fucking fresh. Whenever, and it's weird because there's kind of a weird paradigm thing of like a shift of now we can just look at YouTube and like figure out, we can get combat footage that's uploaded on YouTube or Live Leak or whatever, wherever you get your, bloody shit gore porn. But like, it's not necessarily a film and like it doesn't convey a message. It's just a bunch of pieces of it, right? And this conveyed, this is the whole cake. It's not just a piece. And yeah, that's why I liked it a lot. And the radio, oh my God, the radio guy. I felt so fucking bad for him.
Yeah.
Stop singing and crank it. Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking stand on that thing.
Yeah.
That was such a great. Like, when do you care about a motherfucker cranking a radio generator? Like.
I like how like when he gets up and farts in that guy's face.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The part where this wounded guy dies, I thought was really interesting. Where the LT, he falls asleep and then his guy comes up and he just wakes up. Oh, he's dead. Chief, he's dead. It's just,
and there's immediately the flies and the bugs.
Yep, on his face.
Immediately. Yep.
And again, let's put it in context. It's 1965.
Right.
He's talking about leaving France to go to Vietnam in 1954, and he's talking about protests in Vietnam. This is a fucking movie that came out before LZ X-Ray.
Yep.
It's just like...
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me the writing wasn't on the wall without telling me the writing was on the wall.
Well, there's probably a reason this didn't get super popular.
Well, it was a niche French film from the 50s or 60s. There's a lot of them, but
niche. But
I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, but I mean, there's probably a reason it didn't get as popular as it did, because it's like, well, we have interest now in going there, and if people actually see this film, because it shows, I mean, these guys' lives suck. It's fucking terrible, and the locals are just fucking. They don't give a shit. They just want the fighting to stop and not affect them, which carried throughout the entire U.S. Vietnam War, and the fucking first and second Sino-Vietnam Wars in the 70s, right? There's so many cool things in this film, like, but they're all fucking real. Like, again, it looks like, now that we don't have the sound, it looks like we're watching documentary like footage.
So I have a question. What does FM mean?
That's what they call a machine gun.
Fusil, it's the word for machine gun.
I figured it's their acronym for like bring up the heavy
God,
machine
that's
gun
gonna
or
bother
whatever.
me.
Yep.
The one part in here, which is them coming across the river, the sound effects of the monkeys screaming.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's 100%. I mean, again, I'm following Brian's footnote here, not serving, not any type of military, but jungle warfare with monkeys, with all the vets I've talked to who've done training in Panama and Grenada and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the monkeys are
Scream.
awful.
Well, yeah,
because they follow you. They're like homing beacons because they follow you for the food, but they also let you know the moment you like walk in and they start screaming and howling. Like that's 100% real.
So FM stands for Fusil Mitrailleuse, which means machine gun. So it's it literally translates to gun, machine gun.
Okay.
So yeah.
And
yes, if you're French, I'm sorry I butchered your language. My bad.
And the irony of this film is that they get to where they're going and it's already fallen.
Yeah, but Wilsdorf knows that, and he's trying to tell him. But here's the thing: Wilsdorf is my favorite character in this whole fucking film, because not just because he's a badass, but because of what he says. He's not an asshole to this new second lieutenant, right? He's not a prick to him. He just goes at the beginning, "Yeah, that place has fallen. We should probably figure out a different way." And
no.
The lieutenant goes, "Nope," and then he goes, "Okay," and then he just tries to mitigate and minimize a lot of the casualties, but he knows that he's not saying, "Hey, I've been here longer than you, fuckstick." He's a really smart guy because he goes, that approach is just going to get him in trouble, And so yeah, he's
He in one scene he does say, "Oh, you're in charge,"
right.
There,
Yep.
this film is based off of the director's experiences at DMB and Foo, and there's the one scene that's pretty cool in it where like they see all the torches at night,
Yes.
and that was one thing they talked about. A, along the Ho Chi Minh Trail during the Vietnam War. B, during the Battle of DMB and Phu, that when the pilots would fly in to drop supplies at night,
Yep.
all the Viet Minh supply lines would be torched, and you'd see torches moving in the
Yep.
night, and the thousands, tens of thousands of torches, and that's how they knew they were kind of fucked. But it was just
yeah.
very, again, just filmmaking at its best,
I
showing
agree.
not
Yep.
telling.
He just says stand up on the radio, fuckface.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but dude, because you're getting jammed. If you can get more power out, then you can beat them. And that was a really cool scene. So they have the one airdrop, which was very common during the war in Indochina. That was pioneered by the Chindits in Burma in 1942, 43. But what I thought was really cool about that was that the Viet Minh, these people are really smart. They have their fake drop with their fake fucking cross on the ground, Like it's not just like, oh, they're using our radio and they're jamming us. It's so well done and thought out,
Well, that's
And
what we
thinking on
still
top of
like.
this,
If we're getting like supplied or whatever, even nowadays, on the radio, you pop smoke or whatever, and you don't say I popped red smoke, because then guess what? They're listening. They're listening all the time. They're gonna pop red smoke, and then the person's gonna go there, the pilot or whomever. If you go signal out and they go, I see red smoke and I popped green, I'm going to go negative, not my signal. You don't ever say I popped green smoke, because then again, that's why we don't ever say on the radio. And this is like common knowledge nowadays, but like, it's not like I'm giving any military secrets, but like, that's why we are very particular about when we do a drop or anything like that. If we call for like a 9-line medevac and we need somebody to come in, we always say, not my signal. And if they confirm, like, oh, I see green smoke, affirmative. And then they're going to go on that green smoke. So if they see another green smoke pop up, they're going to go, oh, that's not ours. And that's why, is because those guys were so fucking smart. The Viet Minh, who eventually became the NVA and the Viet Cong, were so smart. They would fuck around the logistic line like that, and they would end up getting a shitload of supplies. And that has not changed at all. And man, more power to you. This scene I actually did like a lot, because they're down in they're down
toward
in a
the
bad
end
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, toward the end when they're by that waterfall. That's a really cool
And
scene.
it's like that again, I don't know if they use live fucking rounds. It sure looked like they fucking did around these actors. Because
I really think they did. And that last shot where they get attacked and they're in the valley,
yeah,
by the waterfall, is so cool. And how it's all wide and everything.
Yeah.
It's just, what more do you want from a war movie?
Yeah. So, but yeah, this scene was really fucking cool, and they got hit.
Because again, everything that's like, there's so many parts of this movie where all the action is happening way at a distance, and it's done so well.
Yeah. That's usually what you see too.
Yeah, it's usually how you would see it.
You see your guys getting fucked up, and you're like, uh-oh, what do we do? Well, in that situation, nothing. You can't. What the fuck do you do? I mean, everything besides okay. So those fucking, those rifle impacts, or like those bullet impacts, I've never seen any sort of pyro on any set in any film, even back then, that looks that realistic.
They must have hired the people from Rust.
Oh!
Never gonna let that one go.
Charges are pending.
No, fuck him. We used live rounds and nobody got shot. No, nobody even came close.
And that
so
was
fuck them.
fresh in our minds when we did that.
Oh yeah, so fuck them. But you know what I mean?
Fuck around and find out. Yeah.
Those besides the explosions, yeah, you can't really put a live grenade about 30 yards away from somebody and have it go off and nobody's gonna get hurt. But so those were like whatever. But the actual impacts of the the rifles and small arms, looked very fucking real, like uncomfortably real. So if they did use pyro, they have got the single best fucking pyro that I've ever fucking seen in my life for replicating impacts of small arms.
Right there. Oh
Right,
my god.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck yes.
Those had to be live bullets going into that thing.
Dude,
Ready?
go back. Yeah,
Watch.
go back.
Stop.
Go back.
Right here. Bam.
They had that was live rounds. Look at this.
Yeah, you.
Holy fuck.
How scary is that?
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh my god. Yeah,
So,
that
dude,
was live
he's-
rounds.
He's standing off to the right side of the camera,
That
and they're
that,
they're firing from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Holy fuck, man. Okay, so it does answer my question because that is unequivocally answers the question. Like,
Yeah.
you do not get that with, oh, those are fucking live fucking rounds going through at an angle.
They
Yeah.
were like, they're probably like, hey, we need to get some squibs over here, and you just said, bring the fucking machine gun over and shoot it. You know, like,
And then he grabs his carbine, like, fucking.
fuck squibs. We're not gonna use squibs.
Oh man, so this film was a lot more seriously filmed than you get away with nowadays. Holy shit.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh man, dude, like, could you imagine no earplugs? You're an actor and you're just like, you got live rounds going about 3 feet away from your head. Jesus Christ.
That
This-
fucking director shot a machine gun at us.
again, it looks like documentary footage.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
it's
don't
like,
listen to it, you just look at it like,
it's like I'm watching 1950s Restrepo.
yeah, there you go. That's a really
Yeah.
good analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
The one thing I noticed that I thought was really cool is that it just starts raining randomly, off
Right.
and on throughout scenes
Yep.
and stuff like that, and it's
Oh, is
because
this
of
it?
the area.
Yep, it's raining right now, yeah.
Yeah. Actual rain, not movie rain.
Oh yeah, no, it's
Right.
and the actors are just reacting to it. But
There was
they're-
there was one shot, there was one scene that like it starts raining, and I'm like, "What's that noise?" It's like it keeps getting louder and louder and louder. It's the rain moving in through the middle of the set, and that's the when the radio man has to like pick up all the stuff because they're moving out like halfway through the film. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, this is way the fuck ahead of its time, and it's probably still. This is one of the best portrayals of. It doesn't matter if it's Vietnam, Indochina, whatever. It's the best portrayal of modern combat I think that I've seen in a while. To be
Yeah,
honest,
me too.
This film is black and white. This film is of troops in combat wearing combat gear in black and white. And it's a fascinating how within 5 feet into the jungle, you fucking lose everybody.
Oh
Now
yeah,
you can only imagine if this is the color with camouflage, how even in half that distance you lose the person.
well, and that's
you know,
like in Platoon. Like even though they cut a bunch of the brush away, they I think Platoon got and Hamburger Hill to an extent, but Platoon got that kind of effect where, dude, unless you're 5 feet away from the next guy, you're gonna fucking lose him. It's done. Like you gotta, and you can't talk if you're on a patrol. You have to just know, and that's where the formations came out and everything, like the fire team wedge and all that shit. And it really came into play. Rather, it didn't come out then, but and then yeah, you're in an open area right here, and then all of a sudden across that river, it's fucking dense. It's really dense. You're gonna lose guys.
right. It's just, you know,
God, I love the fucking firefights in this film because again, yeah, it's over. It's over.
Yep, that's it.
It was five or 6 seconds.
what I love more is they had the balls to do it and show it.
Yeah.
You know, like there's nothing else like this movie.
No, it's really good.
Oh, this is the last scene I wanted to grab. Yeah.
He's doing the Marine
Watch,
Corps
watch.
cam. Yeah, I know.
Ready? And
Yeah.
Oh my god,
See the flash.
that was a legit muzzle flash. That wasn't a fucking blank. Whoa!
they're
What the
shooting right
fuck?
behind him as he
He's
runs.
shooting over the other guy that's sitting there.
Yeah.
They said, "Don't worry, we're we'll try not to actually hit you."
Holy fuck, man!
People were
Damn,
What,
dude.
people
Like
were crazier back then when it came to stuff like that.
again, if those were fucking, if that was pyro. No, that's not pyro. There's no fucking way that's pyro.
Yep. Bam. Doo.
Oh, that's not pyro, dude. That's not pyro. Holy fucking shit,
This is
man.
dudes in the woods with cameras and machine guns and probably no life insurance.
Yeah.
Dude, just cameras in the woods with machine guns and cameras and no life insurance. Yeah.
No life insurance.
Oh my god.
Hey
Because
man,
yeah,
you
I mean
fucking
that.
suffer. You fucking suffer for your art, you know.
So Nate. Well, fuck you for saying that, Mike. Because like whatever. But so Mike and Nate, what do you think about the actual effects?
I mean, I know it's not obviously rotoscoped. So it's real it's practical obviously, but to what extent I do not know. I want to say it's real, but the person in me or the realist is me saying it's probably just really good timing. It could also, if it is live, it could also be two different uh avenues of approach, meaning like someone shooting in front of him while someone's shooting behind him to protect him from being the in-between. But that's the only thing I could think.
I think it's a combination of both. I think because I know I have heard things from like the 30s and such where in like gangster movies they actually would have like sharpshooters on the set shoot at the walls and such like that to simulate. Like that was their first way of doing it. So I think maybe it's the combination of both. I mean, still it's fucking insane. But like that thing with the radio man that we just saw. Yeah, I don't think that was, and the same thing with the rivers, like with the bullets hitting the water.
Yeah.
Like I think that's real. There's
Yeah,
probably being shot from guys like on the sides to where they were like making sure they couldn't actually hit him or something, but I don't know.
But fucking
Yeah, it's still insane. It's still insane.
No, it's really awesome.
yeah, it's just fucking insane to like. I don't know if those were just all effects, like practical effects, they did better than probably anything I've seen in a film.
And not to mention it's a real fucking supply drop from a C-47.
Right? Yeah, they're going out and retrieving.
You know what that would cost today? Like, what's
Jesus Christ!
what's a running C-47?
Yeah.
You know, like it's just crazy.
They must have actually just filmed it, had like a bunch of different cameras film it from the ground, all those shots of it going way over there, dropping, then coming around. That must have been all just one big thing that they filmed and then edited it into that,
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Because they couldn't have done that in multiple takes.
And what's cool is I love the beginning. Not that, but like the beginning of over the
Just
trees, the helicopter shot, and how it goes into the camp.
It's a lot like Tunnel Rats when they did that whole sequence at the beginning, and it was really good.
But
This movie inspired Uwe Boll. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what he used as inspiration.
But
Yeah,
you have
that's why it was so good. Yeah.
you have the shots from the air, and then you have the flag coming down, and then to bookend it at the end, you have this whole action go on. The lieutenant kills himself, and then these guys are on the move, and then you're picked out of the jungle again. And it's like it really makes you think when you see all that lush jungle, fly over it. It's like they had the joke that when you flew to Vietnam with like a civilian airline, you're like, oh, you're going to the world's hottest spot of the world, and they would joke about it and stuff. And like, well, you're flying over jungle where guys are killing each other. So it's just really interesting way to like start it in the air and end it from the air at the same point. Mm-hmm. But I just love like you're snatched out of it right at the end.
Yep.
Just as these guys who knows? Do they make it to the next point? Probably not.
Oh no,
somewhere out there,
they're probably toast.
It's almost like a Twilight Zone ending to me,
Yep.
and I love it. Just like and somewhere out there in the Twilight Zone, they're trying. Maybe they make it over the Red River and back to Hanoi. Probably not.
You don't need
maybe the tiger food.
You don't need to for a story like this. You don't need to have a satisfying conclusion. For this kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's just that don't mean to do a little self promotion here, but it's kind of like with Reveille where it goes to the next thing. It's just
you just don't know how it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just okay. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a very small chapter in a very big war.
Yeah.
So for this week's sticker trivia, many German veterans did end up serving in the Wehrmacht. And in this film, they allude to that multiple times with the characters. One of the battles they mentioned is a very famous battle from the Eastern Front that had French troops in it. So what unit was Wilsdorf in on the Eastern Front? That was at Cherkasy and also Berlin. The first person to message and Kharkov as well, to message the Facebook or the Instagram
that will get a sticker. So I think it's time for IMFDB.
Wait. Wilsdorf's nose is fucking gargantuan.
He's got a schnoz. Yeah.
He's got a fucking. He can smell pussy a mile away. Enfield. Oh my god.
Matt 49. Yes.
Yes.
I'll take 10.
I'll take 20.
1,000.
Yep.
Dude, I also love the fact that like in this film they showed like a lot of them when they're like not in combat, they just fold the fucking magazine and the magazine well forward.
Yeah.
They're just like, to stow it because it's easier to carry that way. That was a
Hot.
fucking great submachine gun.
Oh yeah. It just looks so cool
What
too.
sucks is that the parts kits were everywhere about in the early 2000s, and now they're almost non-existent, and they're like $2,000.
Yeah.
There's a guy that's making a 3D printed one I saw.
There's a museum here in Boise that has one.
Hot.
Yeah, they're really
so
small.
cool.
Like they're really not that big.
Yeah, it's like a giant pistol.
It's basically it's a grease gun in 9mm, but like as far as like how it feels, but it is so much more well designed than it's a fucking nice submachine gun.
The Vietnamese or the Viet Cong repurposed them to fire like 7.62 by 25.
Yeah.
Yes, a few of them.
Okay, yeah.
I just love them. They're just, I don't know what's cooler, like a Viet Minh or Viet Cong soldier using one, or like a French soldier looking. As far as the look, like it's just so cool. If you pick one up, it's like plus 15, just coolness. I don't care who you are.
Sling on the site.
Plus 15. Jesus Christ, you fucking nerd.
It's like Stephen Hawking's. Like, okay, there you go.
Well, you got to beat down the midgets to get to them, so
Yep.
It's not a fucking Enfield, but okay. We'll go through this.
Again, it's crazy to think that this rifle was used so heavily in this conflict.
Dude, they made so fucking many of them and they exported them because that was considered an inferior rifle. It was just like, oh, it's one of these things we have in our arsenal. Let's just send it off. And it's like, dude, that's a better rifle than 1903. I don't give a fuck what you say. It's a better rifle than the fucking 1903.
Well, just like, let's think about this. A conflict where carbines, M17s, fucking Mat 49s, BARs, and 2429s, the French light machine guns, are all correct to be in the same place.
Oh, God, yeah.
With 30 cals, like it's just crazy to think about that. And everybody's wearing some really cool version of camouflage or American camouflage. Like, it's such a crazy conflict.
What is it? Is it, I don't know if it's all rifles in general, but isn't there a thing to where it's like a certain rifle, you take it to a jungle, and if it spends enough time there, like the wood will turn black or something?
No, it just bubbles and gets corroded over time.
Okay.
Because of the moisture.
Vietnam War bringbacks for documented ones and ones that aren't, if you know they came from a vet, they have a certain look, and for some reason they become very black. And usually, it's moisture into the stock and stuff, but from my experience at least, jungle guns usually become very black. Other guns get used and their stocks become black and stuff, but just there's a certain wear to the whole thing.
Isn't like like Enfields in Burma or something? Isn't that like a thing? Like they turn black or something? That's something
they get
I
very
heard.
dark.
Okay, yeah, huh?
Yep.
Well, like the Ishapur Enfields, they used to paint them brown with a paint. It was a tropical treatment because they would rust so much and stuff. So, and even the French had a Berthier that was Indochina that had a stiffener in the stock because the stocks would swell a lot.
And that's just because of the humidity.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. The A1 carbine, yeah. I was so glad that they were using these in this film.
Hot the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And they have just such a plunky sound that's so cute.
I could shoot those things all day.
They're fucking you shot mine when you were already.
Yeah, I was like, can I just do this for like 20 hours?
Yeah, they're fucking awesome. They're awesome.
They're great.
They're awesome weapons.
You better bring your fucking checkbook to shoot that much fucking 30-30.
I know.
Probably cost you that
30.
times 1,000.
Don't they shoot? No, sorry, 30 cal.
30 cal, dude.
30
My
carbine.
brain. My
good.
brain. Yeah.
I was smart enough to buy a fucking shitload of it before things got more ridiculous. So
That's the next thing I want to get is one of those.
yeah, M1 carbines are. I think there's enough of them to arm. Well, there's enough of them made to arm pretty much everybody in the United States, and I wish everybody would just have one of those because they're fucking awesome little guns.
I've been lucky enough to put a few hundred rounds through a few of them, paratrooper ones and not, and they're just. I love carbines.
They're fucking
They're so
awesome
much-
guns. Oh my god,
It's so much fun.
fucking awesome.
Like They're the American assault rifle.
Yeah, exactly.
I love them.
Moss 36. Yeah, another probably one of the best bolt guns for the military ever fucking made.
The only thing cooler than a French Moss 36 is a French CR 39.
Which
I
is
love
what was
fucking
also
the
in.
Mosses.
Oh no, the paratrooper version. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah. But the Moss 36, man, it's
Yeah,
such
they
a
were used
good
a lot in
fucking
this war.
rifle.
Mm-hmm. Think about the ammunition in the squad: 9mm 30-06.
Yep.
Fucking 7.5.
Big problem. Big problem.
Yeah.
Logistics, you know? And it's like, yeah, it's. Well, the CR-39 fires a 7.5, so it was the same thing, but, you know.
And there's no pistols at all, which is interesting.
Isn't the Mat 49 shoot like some weird French caliber?
No, it was originally 7 something,
Long.
but they just made it 9mm.
7.35 long, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I couldn't remember if it was 9mm, if it was like
It was designed in
French.
that weird fucking caliber, and then they just were like, nope, standardized 9mm.
Right, yeah.
7.35 9 is very similar to 30 carbine, if I remember correctly.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it's fine. Whatever. It's
Moss 49s.
yes,
Great to
I
see
was
those.
really happy to see this in this film because they were in Indochina, definitely.
Yeah, heavily.
Yep. And
The 44s, which were very similar to these, were used by the Marines a lot.
yeah, but they were the numbers of those that were made were so fucking small, and then the 49 was the better version of that, and then the 4956 came out, you know, years later. But like, yeah, the 49, it's blocky as shit, but out to about 300 yards, yeah, you're gonna hit your fucking target.
It's a lot like the blocky post-war battle rifles that initially come out, like the FN-49. It's
Yep.
very similar to that. It's
Yep.
chunky.
And that reticle is a fucking PU reticle.
Yeah.
So it's not the fucking correct reticle, and whatever. That's a small detail.
Piece of shit movie.
I think I think
Yep.
I think it is a post thing like that, but I don't.
Yeah, but
know.
it's not.
I
That,
don't know for sure, to be honest.
Well, I keep trying to buy one for mine, but all the boomers keep making them go up to $900 to almost
Oh, you have a
$1,000.
56.
Yeah, I have a 56, so
Yep. So do I.
yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah, the 1918 A2, and that
Pew, pew, pew,
those
pew.
fucking things again. We made so fucking many of them towards the end of World War II that we just were like, oh, allies, yeah, here you go, here you go.
It's such a great shot.
That is a fucking, and also they used it how it should be used and how it actually was used
3 to 4 round bursts.
instead of just dumping a whole mag.
On
you know?
slow.
Yeah, but no, I love that factor that they were using the weapons how they were actually used.
Mhm.
So,
There was care taken. Yep. Milsbaum.
yep, yeah, it was a Mark V they probably had. Yeah, it's probably Mark V. Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, that was cool.
22 millimeter. Yeah, that was the 22 millimeter became the standard NATO grenade launching size basically. For every weapon, like every grenade launcher and everything, they're like 22 millimeters. That's gonna be our standard. At this time, when they made that, it wasn't, but it became that. So yeah, it's
Looks very akin to a 60 mil mortar round.
they're smaller, but they're not much. And I'm glad he actually has this thing on the fucking ground, like they actually did it. Because if you fire, I fired off of my my Yugo SKS. I fired a fucking one of those modern grenades, like the cast iron ones or whatever, off of an M2. I can't remember whatever, like the grenade launcher, and to hold that thing, my God, with a blank, it's like wham, it fucking hits you back. But I'm glad they put it on the ground for this film because that's how they're actually supposed to be used. Brian?
Yep. Yeah, with the sight and everything too.
Yep.
Fuck, I was gonna say something about rifle grenades. There was a trick during the Second World War where you could actually fit a 60 millimeter, what do you call it, mortar round onto a GI Garand.
I've seen a
rifle
photo
grenade.
of that.
And that was very effective.
And it comes up in a lot of the combat, like, tips and things. It's pretty cool. So
I think that's where they got the standardized like tube
Mhm.
size, like 22 millimeters or something like that. I think I read something, but like it's yeah, and like you can do it, but again, the recoil is fucking insane, and it
What? My
break.
stock shatter.
Yeah, but it'll break a stock. You
Oh, I
know,
bet. Yeah.
it's fucking. If you're pumping a fucking 60 millimeter mortar round off of a rifle grenade mount, right? It might work and it might fucking hit your target and everything if it arms correctly and all that shit. But like, it's gonna break the fucking stock of your rifle just because of the.
That's so much. That's so much power.
Oh my god, it's insane.
It's
Because like
so much back pressure. It's insane.
it's like it's
it's like putting your
right. Yeah,
it's like putting your average Alabaman like on the muzzle. All that weight just gonna fucking crush the rifle.
That's why they shoot these fuckers out of a fucking 2-inch tube on a fucking base plate. That's
Yeah.
fucking
yeah. That thing fucking
2.5
moves.
feet by foot, like 2.5 feet by 2.5.
And that thing fucking moves
wide.
whenever you fire it.
And
It's
it
like
digs into the earth every fucking
Yeah.
time you shoot
yep.
it. Although there's that one footage recently of like a bunch of I think it's recently. There's a bunch of mortarmen and they didn't kick the mortar plate down and the thing kicked right out. Like when it fired, it just
Oh, yeah,
skidded
no.
across the ground,
Dude,
and that's
there's
why
so
you
much
kick those
force.
fuckers into the ground because it literally came down, and the guy was holding the legs like this in the front. So when it kicked
Oh, yeah.
back, the tube it went like
Oh.
this, and it went right in front of his face.
Oh, they didn't set it up right.
No,
they probably got their asses
they
chewed.
didn't kick the base plate in.
Yeah, because
they-
the 11
they just-
chucks that I knew and
Yeah.
know, they would fucking
It looked like
throw
boot
that base
stuff,
plate.
so-
What?
Yeah, it looked like boot stuff. So
Yeah. They would throw the base plate down and then fucking stomp on it with all their weight, and then the tube gets in there, and then the fucking bipod gets set up. I wasn't 11 Chuck, I was just 11 Bravo, but like those guys, they knew what the fuck they were doing because they knew how much power. And that's why, okay, the whole trope of the knee mortar in World War II,
The Japanese.
dude,
Yeah.
they have fucking recoil and a lot of it.
That's what happens when you take somebody out of the Bronx, put them
Yeah.
in the Pacific, and then give them something. Hey, look at that, dude! The fucking
It's just a fucking small mortar. It ain't gonna do
Yeah.
much. Yeah. Check this shit out. Boom! Your fucking knee is completely
what the
shattered.
holy fucking shit, Corbin!
Oh
What the
shit!
fuck?
Oh fuck! And it's like,
Now I can run around corners.
yeah, shit. I'm gonna get Purple Heart for this one. Yeah, trust me, bro. I'm gonna get a Purple Heart. My femur's fucking shattered. My knee is fucked. I'll never be able to walk again. But hey, I fucking shot that fucking Jap knee mortar. I tell you.
That's how I became a cab driver.
But yeah, I mean, mortars, any kind of ordnance that you're going to be shooting, whether it's a rifle grenade, even the 203 that we used, right? It's on your M4. But my God, that little grenade launch that you think of, little tiny thing, boom! It does have a lot of recoil to it, and it's like, and that's a fucking a cartridge that has a projectile. That's not just a straight launching the entire cartridge out with all the weight and everything. So yeah, it's just something to think about. But yeah, it's Jesus Christ. It's just like the rifle grenade scene. I'm glad he actually had it on the ground, which is what you're supposed to do, because you get this kind of butt plate that was like rubberized and had a lot of rubber on it, and the Yugos did this with their SKSs and all that shit. And it was like rifle grenadiers would have this and they'd throw it in the fucking dirt, they'd stick it down, use the sights, pop. And I'm glad the first round didn't hit in the movie, because yeah, usually they don't hit. You got to adjust fire. And no, it was just fucking all around just great. So anyway,
I think we have reached final thoughts.
we have.
Who would like to go first?
Nate should, because he's yawning the most.
Dude, I was trying to like not say anything at all. Yeah.
Well, okay, penis. Wake
No,
up
I'm
then. Do your final
I'm
thoughts.
doing it. I'm doing it. Just
Stop doing opium.
too late. In game, not real. No, I just this one's hard for me to talk about or to talk about a lot the way Mike and Brian have been going back and forth with, because I don't know dick shit about this fucking conflict at all. And my rule is that unless I know something or if the joke's funny enough, I interject. But otherwise, tonight's been kind of low for me. But no, I mean, like in terms of all the things I like to chime in on, like cinematography, editing, all that kind of stuff. It's hard to kind of go kind of crazy with that because it's a 1960s film, but at the same time, the film itself is really unique for the time. I feel like, whatever that fucking fancy word Mike A used to describe the genre, because I can't remember.
Cinema verite.
Yeah, because I can't.
Verite, yeah.
Yeah, because I can't remember
Verite.
my fucking film school days. That that it definitely stands within that realm. And like I said in the beginning, it's not like a black and white film with a monkey jerking off to symbolize poorism or something like that. Like it's actually like a legit fucking movie, and that made me really like it a lot. So just to I guess make my thing even shorter, I'm gonna give it a 9.2 screen Mel Gibson's out of 10. It really did hold up quite well. Sound effects are great. The editing is great. I like the kind of whole like um uh kind of documentary feel to it. It didn't pull me out of it. It wasn't so juxtaposed. So, you know, all in all, I really liked it. I'm gonna give it a high thing. I think it deserves that for what it is. And yeah, like we said in verbatim, like those bullet impacts are really cool. Fake or not, really cool. I think shooting the fridge is worth a 9.2. So
They shot the hell out of that thing.
yeah. Like I said earlier, it's like I love how they said drop everything unimportant and they pick up the fridge,
Yeah.
which I thought was really funny. So, there's probably a true story in there somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure. Michael.
Yeah. So cinema verite is the word. And
Gesundheit.
Yes.
That'll get you a lot of squares on Scrabble. Is that what's happening?
Pretty good. I gotta remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very. It's maybe some of the best depiction of combat I've seen, and also it's not grandiose, and it doesn't have to be. It's not like a billion armies and tanks and stuff, and driving around and bomber planes, bombing huge fields and all that such. It's very isolated and it's very effective, even though it is very isolated. And yeah, I like I say, I love the just the almost like we say the documentary feel of the whole thing, and that the characters were not cliches. You do have kind of what might be set up to be a cliched kind of premise: the young lieutenant, the veteran badass, but the way they use those characters was not cliche, and that I really liked a lot. And again, the look of it, the feel of it, just freaking awesome, and I'm really glad I saw it. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, solid 9.
Wow.
Nate's offended again.
Wow.
But...
No, I'm happy. I was waiting for you to be like, I really loved it. It's really great. I'm gonna give it a 6.8. Like something like that. I was waiting for that. I'm
Okay.
glad. So yeah, no. I'm happy.
Okay. If I could go back and change the ratings of some things, I probably would.
but you can't. It's the rules.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
you
rules.
can't now,
Yeah.
but Nate's just gonna hold that over my head forever. That's
Oh
okay.
yeah, fuck yeah.
I love it. It shattered the earth of reality and movie cinema. 5.8.
You're a cunt, Nate. But I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I'm going to go to Brian.
Yeah, it's a really awesome movie. It's a gritty new wave French film that's trying to tackle the French experience of both decolonization and the war in Indochina about a decade after it happened. Filmed in technically Indochina,
Yep.
with people that cared about it, with everyone that was on the same page for whatever reason, and it fucking is awesome. It's a film made by a veteran for veterans, and it gives this really amazing, unique view into the war. This film is everything that
Green Berets wanted and tried to be, but could never be. This thing is amazing, and it's awesome. And I don't think there will ever be another Indochina film like this ever made. The only things I could say that could poke holes in it, and it's stupid to even say this shit, is no carbine BFAs, because I didn't see carbines reciprocal at all, but from our conversations, obviously they weren't shooting blanks. Some things are sped up and condensed, and they did have some, Hollywood scenes. And I felt like it maybe was like 5 minutes too long. But other than that, it's a really awesome fucking film, and I'm going to give it a 9.7 out of 10.
Whoa.
There's just not a lot of things that you can do better than what they did here.
All right. Yeah. A lot of things that I was going to say have already been said. This is kind of why I like going last. It's a lot easier. Nate, take that into consideration and don't whine and bitch if you go last.
I never whine and bitch. I don't know what you're
fuck
talking
you.
about.
You always.
I never whine and bitch.
No,
It's not. I never whine and or bitch. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Anyway.
I'm not whining. I'm not whining, Mike.
I'm not whining, even though I'm whining about how
bitching.
you called me about how I whine and bitch. Like, I'm not whining or bitching. All right?
Anyway,
Sounds a little bitchy to me.
Yeah, I mean, just fucking fuck you,
God,
Nate.
I
But
can't believe you said I whine and bitch. Jesus. Even though
he's just gonna fucking call
Wow.
it quits tonight. Oh, we're done. No more Chipotle bowls for me, man. but no, I agree with it. Again, we did a lot of shitty films in the past few months, and I was just like, oh Jesus Christ, will it ever get better? And the past few weeks have been pretty damn good, and this is no exception. This is something that I went into it. It took me a bit to get into it, but then all of a sudden, once I was in, I was like, boom. Oh, I see. Got it. Nice. And yeah, like Brian was saying, and Mike was saying, that this is probably the most realistic depiction of like modern combat that is on film that I've seen. Because it's not grandiose. It doesn't have to be. And it didn't want to be that, and it didn't do it, which is fucking perfect, right? The characters, it was all totally, every fucking character, the Cambodian guys, the French guys, they were all believable as shit. Every fucking one of them was believable, and it was really good, very well acted. It seems like they weren't even trying, and that's the best kind of acting you can get, is when they're not trying, and you can see that, it comes through. The weapons, fantastic, my God. And then we just, talked about the life. It's like every aspect of this film is really good. Shortcomings, like Brian said, there were a few scenes where I'm like, this is getting to be Hollywood. Okay, we're going this way. And then all of a sudden it pops out of that. And I'm like, oh, thank you. For fuck's sake, finally. Thank you. And was it 5 minutes too long? Maybe, perhaps. I didn't get that sense, but I was captivated the whole time, and I was like, what's going to happen next? Oh, I know what's coming. It's just a matter of when. And then I didn't know when it was going to happen. But so it puts you into that of like, these guys are sitting there just sucking in the middle of the fucking jungle. They're fucked. They just don't know it yet, right? And you're on the journey with them. And it seemed like a documentary more than it seemed like a film. Once I got, into it, which only took like 5-10 minutes. And it's like, oh my God, how much worse can this get? Well, okay, they're doing this. He's giving the guy opium, whatever. All these things, these little details that were really like accurate and good. And there's a lot of foreshadowing to the U.S. involvement in Vietnam, which I don't know if they were going for that in '64 when they filmed this, but they sure fucking got it. And anyway, so cinematography was fantastic for the time. The fucking acting was fantastic. The sound effects, the actual practical effects, and even the dubbed in like stock effects does not matter. Again, the things that fell short were way overshadowed by the amount of good things that were in this film. This gets a 9.2 from me. So, yeah.
decent.
Yeah, I think it definitely deserves all of it
Yep.
for sure.
It was not overbearing at all. It was just fucking. I think it was about as close as you're gonna get. Besides
would-
actually filming a documentary.
Yeah, I would say it felt like it for me. It's where it kicked off. It's where the first shot fired,
Yep.
and then you know, like any of us, it's like, oh, okay, will you fuck this up? Oh no, oh
No,
okay,
it just gets better.
okay, you know,
Yep.
and then when I was waiting again, like I keep saying, like I was waiting for the Finn black and white French art house fucking film to happen, and it never did.
Nope.
And I thought I was really impressed with it.
Putting all the scores into the computer that will tell us if D&B and Foo will hold. They will hold. There's no way they won't hold. We'll get a score of 9.3 out of 10.
Yep. Well deserved.
Please watch this movie.
Yeah.
If you've
Highly
never heard of this
recommend.
movie, watch this movie. If you've heard of this movie, watch this movie.
Turn
Just
around,
watch this movie.
go home, stop what you're doing, stop working, go
Yeah.
home. I don't care
It's
if you
awesome.
get fired. Go. I will put the link in the description. It's in
Yeah, absolutely.
It's I think this is like a I think it's on it's a trustworthy website, right? Like this is
Yeah.
like yeah.
And even then, you can find it if you look a little bit. But it's a really good film.
100%
Nothing
worth the
else
watch.
really like it.
Yes.
1,000%.
The quality
Yep.
the quality of this link, the quality of the site that we watched it on today, the subtitles are perfect. It's
Yep.
great.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those archival websites where they are
Yep.
making sure that it doesn't get lost to time.
Yeah, I'm glad it exists because this is about as close as you're gonna get.
It's probably the best war film from the 20th century.
Bold statement, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
I'd
Top
say,
5.
I was just gonna say top 5. It's in there because
Yeah.
it's you know it's hard to get above a 9 from me, as you guys know. This
Definitely hard to
is
get from Mike A. That's for damn sure.
Dude, I had a 9-1 last week with their Iraq War, like, which I did not.
Yeah.
That I got thrown for a loop on that one, and I was like, hey, it's above a
Well,
9. So
And we'll touch on his other work, D&B and Foo, this spring. Like we had mentioned earlier, this is the 70th anniversary of the events of these things, the spring of 1954. So it's fascinating to kind of view this history as it happened after the fact. But yeah, well, thank you guys for your time. Watch this movie, please. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description.